Vinny, we were just talking about the pageantry, the lack of pageantry in the NBA Finals, and you wrote a great story for Yahoo Sports talking about how Adam Silver and the league needs to figure out a way to make this feel big. And when I was doing some research, I figured out that the NBA Finals logo, the thing that we always think about on the floor, it actually hasn't been on the floor since 2014. Is that surprising to you?
No, because I knew it. The playoff logo used to be on the floor. I'll tell you how I knew, because I'm such a geek, right? I was covering a very bad Detroit Pistons team in the early part of that decade. So I never got to cover the playoffs. So in 2015, I'm covering the Bulls. And the game one of the playoffs, I literally run onto the court. So I'm going to take a shot from not a shot, but like a photo from like the top of the lower bowl, like to put on the gram or whatever. The playoffs are here. Want to see the decals and all that. Nothing is there. I am despondent at that point. I'm totally despondent. I'm like, it ain't the playoffs if the playoff decals ain't on the floor. I'm a weirdo about these things. Like, I remember the NBA Finals decals were on the floor in 1989. The playoff decals were on the floor in 1991, and they've been a part of our lives ever since then. Like, you can look at a highlight and be like, man, is this a regular season game or a playoff game? And it would immediately tell you exactly that it's a playoff game or a finals game. And now everything looks like a Tuesday night in December. Who wants to watch a game in June that looks like a Tuesday night in damn December?
It made it worse with the decals that they did for game 2, right? It just looked so
I think we're getting them back.
I
think we're getting them back. I think we have bullied and punked the NBA into doing something about this to get them back. Not that the decals are coming back. I think they're going to be embedded into the floors. They're going to make the floors. Once the conference finals begins, you have 4 teams remaining. It takes about 2 weeks to get this thing done. Bada bing, bada boom. You might have 2 floors that don't get used. Oh, well, they got enough money that they can handle it, right? So I think it shows that public bullying works for the NBA. That's what it shows me. But I do agree that commerce was the reason that the decals were probably taken off of the floor.
Vinny, let me ask you a question, because beyond just, hey, where'd the decals go, or the decals superimposed digitally, are they really there, or whatever, we also had a thing where it's like they've tried to go away from the finals, the original finals script logo.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever gotten an answer why they felt like it needed a refresh?
Well, there was someone who's no longer with the NBA, and she decided she wanted everything to look uniform, from like everything, all the fonts and everything else to look uniform, and nobody really railed against it. Remember, the 2017 finals had the final script. The 2018 finals had the Microsoft Word, and I railed against that from like the moment. Like, the crazy thing about the NBA is this. When it's 82 games, it's really hard to build up through an 82 game season to make one game feel special. Football makes every single game feel special. The Kentucky Derby, the Masters, all these single events, and the NBA has to go out of its way to tell you, you should watch this game. This is the NBA Finals. No, you should be telling us that this is the NBA Finals, that this is the pinnacle. This is the biggest games of your year. The NBA Cup should not feel bigger than the NBA Finals. And I think that's where you have drawn the ire of a lot of fans who are not buying the nonsense.
Yeah, for me, it's like you could do it for the NBA Cup, and not just do it to the extreme. Like, we're talking about courts and adding a decal to the court when the NBA Cup is the biggest, like, artistry or creativity or whatever you want. They treated that court like a canvas for all 30 teams, and now you can't say that you can add a decal. And a meme was just saying that, it is about, like, some of it is just time. They don't have enough time to have like an OKC specific court or an Indiana specific court. But to what you're saying is, I mean, we know the Final Four teams a month ago. Yeah. So, I mean, we can't figure something out where it's actually the court. I don't know. It is, I think also the YouTube stuff.
I think it'll happen. I think they've learned the error of their ways. We just have to point things out to them. Like they're surprised. I'll tell you this. Yeah. They are surprised that this matters to people. They're surprised that anybody cares about this stuff. And we're like, no, you're supposed to care about this stuff. You are supposed to care at how this looks, at how it feels. The things you got to make me feel something. The one thing about the finals, you get to a town, it feels like something big is happening. The last thing we should worry about is the floor or the game day telling us, oh, this is just a regular game.
Tell me about you and me. Tell me, like, does it feel like a big event when you're there?
Well, certainly Oklahoma did, because that's all they got going for. But like, it's you know what? It's kind of cool. 2 years ago, I was really harsh on Denver because I said if you weren't at the arena in Denver, you would not know there was an NBA Finals. The streets didn't have any banners or stuff. The local businesses didn't have like Go Nuggets or anything. The bus. I remember in Minnesota when I went to the conference finals in last year, like all the buses were like Nas Reed. Like the buses were just talking about a guy who wasn't even a starter for their team. Denver has the best player in the world. And unless you were in the immediate environment of Ball Arena, you would not know that there was an NBA Finals happening. I asked Uber drivers, is the town excited? And I said, look, Broncos, Avalanche, and then depending on who's doing well, Rockies or Nuggets. This is their team in the NBA Finals, mind you. So Oklahoma City, I give them credit that they are fully bought into the NBA experience. It is a big part of the local identity. And everywhere you go, you see people wearing the shirts. You see businesses with the signs. The biggest tower they've got, I don't know what the name of it is. But yeah. The LED OKC Thunder logo at the top. Kind of their version of the Empire State Building having, the lights or whatever. So, I felt that. Vinny, you're in Indianapolis. I don't get there until tomorrow. You'll have to let me know if it's got the same vibes over there.
No, I mean, you got to think this is basketball city, basketball town here. Like they really care. Like, granted, like I said, when I got to the bus and we were driving around and I was seeing establishments with names that I recognized, I was like, freedom, happiness. We've gotten here. We've survived. But yeah, there's a couple of large billboard things that's going on. Minnesota had like digital large billboards with Nas Reed and, like you said, Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. Like you
murals
could tell,
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Murals. You could tell the town was really excited and really into it. Denver was really disappointing. Here, I think you're going to get. They can't have a whiteout in Indianapolis for a number of reasons. They're going to have a gold out. You can have a gold out in Indianapolis because people won't get a little too crazy. You can't have a whiteout here because people will get the wrong ideas, right? But I think this is the place where they take a lot of pride. There you go. They take a lot of pride in being a basketball town. Like, remember, Rick Carlisle damn near tried to snatch the microphone away from Ernie Johnson on Ernie Johnson's last day of work to try to say, in other places, it's the playoffs. Here, it's life. You know what I mean? Remember those and one shirts, basketball is life and all that type of stuff? Yeah. That's here. So, in Oklahoma City, Amin said it. The Thunder have given Oklahoma City an identity that they probably did not have prior to 2008. It's unfortunate that we have to hang out in Oklahoma City on the days in between the games. That's the only problem.
I didn't mind. It wasn't that bad, man.
Yeah. What was
Whenever someone starts with it ain't
outfit?
that bad, that's how you know.
Did you witness the cowboy outfit in person, Vinny?
Oh, man. This is
Amin's cowboy hat and camouflage.
This is a Basketball Illuminati exclusive. That wasn't from Oklahoma City.
That was faking.
That was an old photo, and I decided to post it because I thought it would be funny. Like,
Amin memed himself to pretend like he had turned into a cowboy.
Yeah. Yeah, people were excited, man. They were like, "Where'd you go?" And I was like, "Ah."
For the audio audience, Vinny is appalled by this.
Because he hasn't seen the picture, that's why.
Yeah.
You fraud. You total fraud.
Fraud for wearing that, or fraud for pretending I wore it in Oklahoma? Which one?
Fraud for pretending. No, if you're going to wear it. Like, but fraud for pretending to be part of the culture. Those people take pride in that. Look, man, we hung out in Oklahoma City a couple times, man. It ain't too many places, ain't too many times where you're like, man, we really ain't in Oklahoma City. No, we're in Oklahoma City at all times. They never let you forget that you are. Never mind. I was going to say something really not nice.
That's why we found the one place.
That's what the one place.
The one place. Shout out to Mark Spears. Mark Spears found the one place, and then we ran that place into the ground, man. They had their best 5 days of revenues ever in the history of that establishment.
By far. I would say it's like a strip club without the strippers.
And with Uno.
Uno. There was nothing untoward. There was no strippers there.
No.
It was a hazy vibe.
Yeah.
Gives you the vibe of an establishment. But it was not an establishment.
No.
You might say that some places like that have aura or some sort of atmosphere that brings people there and have a good time. That's my segue for my next question. Are we at a lack of that kind of it factor, whatever intangible we want to say with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Haliburton, or is Haliburton's heroics down the stretch enough to get the casual sports fan to watch these NBA finals?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what the casual sports fan wants. Like, I was astonished when people were saying, because it's Oklahoma City and Indiana, I'm not going to watch. Not because it's two boring teams, not because it's teams that a casual fan couldn't get into and invest in, but because of the city that is being held. We should care more about where the NBA finals are more than the general fan. Y'all ain't got to be in these cities. All y'all got to do is tune in for 2.5 hours. Now, what I think the NBA has is they're in a marketing quandary right now, guys. I think they're in a spot where the players are more visible than ever in all of these different places, and yet we don't feel like we know any of them at all. Like, whether that's Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic, guys who don't do anything beyond the league-mandated media. They don't let anybody, and this is not me campaigning for the media or anything like that, even though it could be perceived that way. But getting us a chance to get to know you becomes a conduit to the public. It should be more than just, oh, I'm good at basketball and that should sell. That's not that way. And the NBA, Amin slightly disagrees with me on this one. I think the NBA's best marketing was jumping on the back of what Nike was doing in the 90s. Nike created these larger-than-life athletes, and the NBA sort of crafted its personality and marketing schemes around it. Now, granted, David Stern was a marketing genius. I got this black guy in L.A. I got this white dude in Boston. The NBA is fantastic. Absolutely right. And then it changed, and Nike became more prevalent. And now I wonder what's going to be like the bell cow for the future of this, not just post LeBron, Steph, KD, but who's going to be the personality of the way everything is sort of built around, not face of the league, but personality that the NBA can say, this is what we're like. If I'm pointing to you, an NBA player, to somebody from Mars who comes down and they want to see a basketball game, who's the player and the personality that the NBA is going to say, you will know everything important that you need to know by watching this player right now?
Vinny, let me ask you a question. Last week we had Nate Jones on the pod, and he said one of the reasons why this face of the league thing is fraught with peril is because the guys, the last generation, Steph, KD, LeBron, came from an era of monolithic culture.
Monoculture, yeah.
Meaning, right, like that, monoculture, right? Like the idea that, like, your grandma knows who Steph Curry is. Everybody knows who Steph Curry is because he was popular at a time where everybody turned on TVs and watched TV. These things were communal. And now, because of the way technology has fractured audiences and everything is niche upon niche upon niche, it's impossible for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, regardless of how damn charming he is, to break through in the way that those guys broke through a generation before.
I will counter that to say, if Anthony Edwards wanted it, wouldn't Anthony Edwards be everything that we say you can't be? Like he would break through if Anthony Edwards wanted it. He has the charm. He's not even with Nike. He's with Adidas. You know what I mean? But if there was a want to with this, it would work. The other thing I think is this. When you talk about face of the league, it's not about being the best player. To me, it's about for better or worse, and sometimes it can be for worse, something happens outside of your small sphere, and we ask LeBron about it. We ask Steph about it. We don't really ask KD about things outside of basketball, but we ask those two things outside of the world of basketball that can be pulled into basketball. Basketball being the centerpiece and everything else can sort of come in. Well, this is what Steph thinks about person X or person Y. You know, that's why a lot of times when those guys are at the Olympics and you see them at swimming or at gymnastics and everything else, it feels bigger. It feels more visible because you see them in places other than their own spaces. That's where the endorsement comes in. That's where everything else comes in. But these guys don't want the desire or responsibility to speak out about things that have nothing to do with basketball and inside those 48 minutes. If it's not that, they don't want to talk about it. And I think I won't say it's a bad thing, but it's not a great thing for how the league is going to market itself for the future.
I think if Anthony Edwards is in the NBA Finals, like you said, it doesn't matter if he wants it or not. He's going to be it. Like, I think if he's the face of the NBA, or if he's in the NBA Finals, he won the West, and he's going against Boston or whoever comes out of the East, Indiana, what have you. I think just by virtue of being in the NBA Finals and having his personality, it's not even a matter of want, because it just I think you have to want it.
I think you have to want it. You have to embrace it, because there's going to be so many things that you don't want to do, that you're inclined not to do, but because you recognize it's a greater responsibility. Like, think about it. If Anthony Edwards had Jason Tatum's want to, you would have it all, because Jason Tatum wants so bad to be the face. And we're just like, no, you're just not that guy. For whatever reason, we're like, Jason, point. We get it. You're a walking meme. You know all of the memes from all of the GIFs and everything else, and you want all of these moments, and we're just not going to give it to you. So if Anthony Edwards had Jason Tatum's want to, we'd not have a single problem in the world.
Vinny, is Tyrese Haliburton hurt?
I mean, everybody's hurt this time of year. Is he injured? I don't think he's injured. I think he's hurting. Right. But guess what? Because the NBA Finals are so spread out, you got 3 days to stretch that thing out. Right? You got 3 days to figure out if that's soreness or if that is hurting. I didn't see him hurting during the game.
Right.
I didn't see a play where I'm like, oh, man, he came up ginger there.
Tweak this or something like that.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to, now granted, some injuries happen and you play through and it's adrenaline and everything else, and then you find out on the back end. But I don't tend to believe that this is going to be something that hinders him. Everybody playing hurt because you're playing 120 games into the season.
Sure. For the record, he limped into the post-game press conference room with a slight limp. He limped out with a much more pronounced limp.
You know, you're sitting there, your body tightens up, you know? It just,
I was stood right by the door. I didn't come sit down. I was in the doorway. So when he walked in, I was like, is he limping? And then when he walked out, it was kind of like, he was damn near dragging it. And he ended up walking out the arena. And so it's like, is this real, or is this, you want to talk about someone embracing kind of these roles and these archetypes? This dude really embraces it, right? He wants to be the villain, and I'm trying to think of maybe if this is even something. This is a play, all part of.
You think he's Keyser Soze,
yes,
the media, and then the Thunder.
Yes,
the limp straightened up as soon as he turned the corner.
He has that voice modulation thing going on too. That he switches.
We figured that out. He's doing Big Waz's nerd voice. That's all he's doing. Well, I think that the analytics on this one are blah, blah, blah.
The voice changes mid-sentence sometimes too.
Yeah, it's wild.
Have you noticed that? I mean, that it sometimes changes mid-sentence. It's not really pronounced, but you're like, "Ooh, it just went really low here." You know what I mean? Like
McAfee was like, "Wait a minute, your voice just changed right there. That was really weird. I thought it was in my ear, but like."
He claims he doesn't even realize he's doing it. That's the funny part. It's not like
the Woz
thing. I believe him. If it was a Woz thing, it's like, yeah, I'm going to put on a voice to like emphasize the point or depict someone else who would be saying this kind of stuff. But this is just him in the flow, in the rhythm. He just changes voices.
Yeah, I think he's got a case of Lugenstitis. I think he's got Dortitis. I think he's in the torture chamber. He's that dude. The stat was from ESPN that heading into this series, of all of Tyrese Haliburton's defenders over the last 2 years, Lou Dort has held him to the fewest shots per minute on the floor. That's continued in this postseason. He has scored 2 points while being guarded by Lou Dort in the 2 games of the NBA Finals. And so I can understand why he would want to limp afterwards and just be like, it's that. It's not the fact that Lou Dort is locking me down. Because that is what I'm seeing, is that every time Lou Dort is on him, like on that final shot, I was like, yep, that's going in. Not because it was Tyrese Haliburton with the ball. It was because it was Tyrese Haliburton with the ball and Lou Dort is elsewhere, and it was Keyser Soze guarding him.
The sad part is Keyser Soze did a good job. It's just him not being Lou Dort gave Tyrese Haliburton that little extra juice.
Well, I'll say this. Lou Dort plays basketball like somebody who's blind. You know what I mean? Like he plays basketball like I'm just going to throw my body into somebody. It could be a teammate. It could be the stanchion. Like he's just throwing his body all over the place. He's a blind linebacker. You remember Terry Crews? Remember
Terry Tate.
Terry Tate,
office linebacker.
Yeah. That's Lou Dort, right? That's literally like, man, get this clown off of me. So yeah, I think it's something. But in sense of the heel, wouldn't it be great if he's limping and then you hear the glass break? Oh my God, that's Tyrese Haliburton's music. And he does like the Stone Cold thing. Like, remember, Triple H is at the games and everything else. Like, it wouldn't be surprised. A little chicanery, a little gamesmanship. Yeah. I'm down for it. I'm down for the theater, right?
Joel Embiid might be given the D-Generation X, just hit him with that, like with Triple H in the.
That's the wrong name to say during the NBA Finals because he knows nothing about that.
Oh man,
yeah, you're right.
Nothing about that.
That's some off the record conversations from NBA Finals week.
NBA Finals after dark.
We got it. Before we get you out of here, we got to ask, because I showed Vinny this. This happened to me in the middle of the finals. I got a text message from my buddy, and I laughed and I showed Vinny the text message, and it was just like, is Vincent Goodwill a credible source? That was the thing. And it's from one of my buddies who's a Knicks fan. And Vinny, you had the report this week that Jim Dolan apparently spearheaded the firing of Tom Thibodeau. Now, when you say spearheaded, what does that exactly look like?
I mean, speaking in the wrestling theme, you know what I mean? Somebody getting in the ring and coming out with the jackhammer or something like that. You don't know.
Fired!
Going full Vince McMahon. Wait, are we allowed to say his name in public?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Yeah. All right.
You can't hear.
Yeah, but no, I tend to believe everything that I was told, that it wasn't Leon Rose who wanted Tom Thibodeau fired. Do you think Leon Rose wants the smoke of having to, being like Puxatawny Phil and going out there and seeing his shadow and talking to the media when we never hear from Leon Rose in terms of public accountability? Do you think he wants to hear the calls that he should come out and talk to the media? Do you think he wants the task of trying to find another coach to replace the coach who took them to their first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years? Or do you think the owner, who sat in on the meetings, who asked the questions of the players, hey, what do you think about the coach? What do you think about this and that? And Leon Rose is sitting there not saying anything? Now, maybe Leon Rose could have saved Tibbs. Who knows? There was a point where I think they might have been completely joined at the hip. If one goes, you both can go. But I don't think they're in that place anymore. And I do think that Leon Rose felt like there's not much I can do here, especially if the players are saying the things that they're saying, not to me, but directly to the owner. What would I look like if I reversed course or said, you know what, guys, you know what, Jim, I don't think you should fire this guy. I think he kind of read which way the wind is blowing. And from what I understood, he was fired shortly after the meeting. So it's easy to say, the game of Clue, it's Dolan in the kitchen with the steak knife.
With the kazoo. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah. Do you think that Dolan has someone in mind that he wants to be the head coach all along, or do you think it's just I don't want that guy?
Do you think the New York Knicks have a plan?
Yeah, I think Leon Rose would have a plan, but I don't think Jim Dolan would have a plan.
If this were Leon Rose to me, we wouldn't be hearing 5, 6, 7 names, possibilities. We would be hearing, we are zeroing in on this guy, whoever this guy is, and we're going to try to make it work. It does not feel like they have a plan.
Is trying to get Jason Kidd from the Mavericks at all theoretically possible? Like, is that something that Jason Kidd is interested in, or the Mavs would consider?
I mean, I don't know if the Mavs would want to consider it, but if you can get a first-round draft pick from it, I don't know. I think that Jason Kidd might find it intriguing. Remember, he played for the Knicks. He coached the Nets. He's very familiar with that whole New York scene. I don't know how he views the Dallas Mavericks with Cooper Flag coming in, and then you got Kyrie Irving, who's hurt, and then you got Anthony Davis, who's always hurt, and then you got Klay Thompson, who's old. How he views the Knicks will be viewed through the prism of how he views his current situation. And I don't know if he necessarily views the current situation as something that he can't win, but I would think that he views the Knicks situation as something that, hey, maybe we have the assets if I go to New York that we can lure a Giannis or we can lure a Kevin Durant, and that makes the job that much more attractive. But I think a name that we have to look out for, there's 2 other names we have to look out for, in addition to Jason Kidd. Mike Brown recently deposed from the Sacramento Kings, the dysfunctional Kings. Johnny Bryant, longtime assistant for the Knicks, but I have a hard time believing that the Knicks will go with a first-time head coach for these guys.
Johnny Bryant got the finalist job from the Phoenix Suns, as we covered last week. Is it the Phoenix Suns? Oh, we landed with the Michigan State guy. Do you have any other...
complete coincidence.
Vinny, do you have any input to share with our audience on what it's like to watch this, given your background in Michigan and all this stuff? Like, what do you think is this just owners being owners, and this is always how it works in the NBA, or is this a particularly interesting story that we're seeing in Phoenix, aligning from top to bottom Michigan State?
I think it's interesting because people see the Michigan State connections. I think it's partially interesting because Matt Ishbia played college basketball. He was on a college basketball championship team, so he does have a basketball base of knowledge compared to just being a guy who's rich. But I think when you look at most NBA owners, when they first buy in, they believe the strategy that made them a billionaire is a strategy that's going to make them a successful NBA owner. And it usually takes you 6, 7, maybe 8 years before you realize this is a completely different ball game. So I'm not surprised that the coach, the president of basketball operations, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to bring Sparty in to be their new mascot and replacing the gorilla. They're going to try to make everything in Phoenix green.
Yeah. DeMarcus, come on down. Who else can we get from Michigan State to go over and play for the Phoenix Suns?
Mo Pete.
We have Mo Pete come
Jason
back.
Richardson's kid in the draft. Jace Richardson.
Yeah. Jace Richardson, bring him on down.
They don't have any draft picks.
Magic Johnson. See if you want to be a contributor. Come and play. Remember Magic played with the Harlem Globetrotters, for a cup of coffee. Does Phoenix have a point guard?
Tyus Jones is free agent.
Once again, the Phoenix Suns need a point guard. Irv, come on down.
Come on down. Yes. That's Vinny Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. The Good Word at Yahoo Sports. Go listen to his podcast. Does a great job for Yahoo Sports. And I'm going to say Yahoo Sports one more time, because you know what? We don't have the court behind us to advertise like the NBA does to digitally superimpose. But
I'm going to tell you right now, Tom, you pull up Yahoo Sports, it's like it's the Vinny Goodwill show. Every fucking article. I'm like, yo, how is this guy reporting on everything?
What do you want me to say to that? They're just working me like a dog in an NBA Finals. Like, that's just what it is, dog.